Whew. We're here.
Good morning, everybody.
We're here. We made it. It's Monday.
We're kind of sort of together.
I mean, we're in the same virtual space.
Yeah.
Right?
We're in your screens just like we are each and every Monday. We're just not sitting next to each other.
I mean, didn't you do like a dissertation on avoiding pastoral burnout through digital spaces just like this?
I kind of did. So it's kind of like, you know, how churches were like, hey, you need to show up and be here in person. Only we counted your online attendance for those like 10 months.
Of course we did.
So, yeah, so it's kind of like that. So I can't be mad that you're not here. I just miss you.
No, I miss you.
There's something to be said about being shoulder to shoulder, eye to eye.
I mean,
think circles, not rows.
We are like shoulder to shoulder. Andrew, it was a very, very long ministry weekend. I say we get into all that and more because, well, yesterday was Sunday.
And this right here, it's the morning after.
The morning after.
Welcome to the Morning After Ministry Show, a caffeine-fueled look back on the week and ministry that was.
Well, friends and family, we are here. It is Monday. My name is Tim. This is the Reverend Dr. Andrew James Larson at gmail.com.
That's not my full email.
What happened to your hat?
It's really tight. I took it off and I threw it over there.
Oh,
that was just for you earlier.
Well, you know, it
wasn't for everybody, Tim.
Oh, I appreciate that. Hey, guys, here's the deal. Every Monday we sort of do this. We chat with each other.
Not next Monday because it's Memorial Day.
Yes, we'll be.
But most Mondays. Mondays.
Most Mondays we'll be right here chatting with each other, inviting you in on the conversation because, well, we all need each other in the sometimes mess that is ministry land. Sometimes the busyness of ministry requires us to be intentional about our time together, Andrew. If not, we just won't talk to each other.
Yeah. And
you'll notice that the title of today's episode was Sanka, you dead man, because Andrew texted me at about, 8:55 last night?
There was no man. It was just Sanka, you dead. Different gifts said different things, but that was the one that I felt the most appropriate to send because, you know, I don't want to appropriate Jamaican culture just for a text.
Well,
but it was a Cool Runnings reference.
Andrew and I, we chat back and forth over the weekend, and this just happened to be one of those massively busy ministry weekends up at Lakeview Land for me. We had our elder retreat on Saturday, full marathon Sunday.
I didn't know that you had an elder retreat on Saturday. I had no idea.
That's what I'm saying. I had family in town, an elder retreat, a marathon Sunday with back-to-back services. There was a music team info session that my daughter attended to join the Lakeview worship. So I sat in on that for a little bit. Our men's softball team had their very first practice in the history of Lakeview Church. And
it's a lot of things.
And then to top it all off, Steph and I took one of our young couples out to dinner last night just because we loved them and we hadn't seen them in a while. So it was ended up being one of those, 14, 15-hour ministry days. That's a long Sunday.
It's a very, very long Sunday. Tim, I've got questions about all those different things. The one that I'm most curious about is your daughter trying out for or trying to see if she'd be a fit in. I don't know if we say try out for church things, but because I've been a part of churches where the ministry lead's child tries out, and I had to be like, "Ooh, girl, you can't sing," which is not the case for Emily Miller. But I'm just wondering what was the vibe? Did it feel like you were looking over the shoulder of your subordinate, your worship director, to say, "My kid's going to get this. I expect a solo by next week"? What were you doing? What was?
We left her at the church. There was a meeting before the actual tryout process or whatever you call it. And I slipped in the back after they had already begun, getting people on stage and cycling through the musicians and the singers. Emily was playing keys for a little bit. She sang into a microphone for a little bit. If you were to ask her, she did terrible, according to Emily Miller, because that's
almost like she's a 14, almost 15-year-old girl.
It's what a soon-to-be 15-year-old girl would say. I thought she did just fine. So whatever happens. Our feelings won't be hurt. If Emily doesn't have to wake up super early to get to worship team practice on Sunday mornings, she'll probably be okay.
Makes sense.
But it was fun.
Makes sense.
We hadn't done something like that in a long time at Lakeview, and Sarah, our worship director, she had been pitching this idea even back when we interviewed her. This is something she wanted to do a couple times a year to help grow the team, and I thought she did a phenomenal job. Andrew, Ross is wondering, how does it feel being a doctor now? Have you saved any lives? That's really the question.
I was somewhere where someone like got hurt the other day, and one of my kids sarcastically was like, "Dad, don't you wish that you were that kind of a doctor?" And it kind of hurt my feelings just a little bit. I was like, "Hey, I put in the time. Kids." But my kids are even like, "Hey, Dad, you're not a real doctor." To which I sat them down. We talked about etymology of words and where they come from, and how doctor comes from doctrine. And I believe they were referring to a physician, but they just said I wasn't a real doctor.
I'm sorry.
Oh well.
Is that kind of like how youth pastors get called not real pastors? Is that the same thing?
Kind of. Kind of, but I get it. It's fair. It's fair.
Ross says
like a regular doctor. So
you could go here. I save souls, S-O-U, not souls, S-O-L.
There you go. Listen, I could use a good podiatrist right now to look at my souls. I think I've got some. What's
Stop.
that? That turf toe thing. They call it like policeman's foot, because you get it from like standing up all the time, which is ironic because clearly I never stand up.
Sam says, "Don't worry, chiropractors aren't real doctors either." Wow.
Well, that's kind of true. I dated my chiropractor's daughter in my freshman year of college. That was a bad situation. She was wonderful and lovely, but it's very awkward when someone's like cracking your neck, and you're like, "Hey, so I'm going to a sorority formal with your daughter," and then plus you toot a little bit sometimes when you're getting adjusted, and that's awkward if you're dating the guy's daughter. So
wow.
I wouldn't recommend dating your chiropractor's daughter. Alexis, if you're watching, it was me, not you. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I think we're cool now. It's been 20
but
years.
Did you get free adjustments at least?
No. Insurance was covering. It was like a post-car accident thing. Hey, welcome, Jake. It's exciting to have you.
Andrew, you heard a little bit about my busy ministry weekend. It was so much, everything's kind of jumbling together in my head right now. As you noted, I didn't even have time to ice bath this morning. I dropped my daughter off for her final exams. I came home, crawled back into bed. You were calling the first time. I was still in my bed because I was just out of it.
Well, I was tracking your phone like I do on Monday mornings to see if we're going to really, it's because if we're doing the broadcast with you and I sitting together, there's different equipment that gets moved into the office. And so I was kind of like, do I want to move equipment before he gets here? And I kind of had that inkling that you were going to be sleepy this morning. And I had tracked your phone after I had dropped my kid off. My eighth grader is on an seventh graders on a middle school trip. They take the whole middle school there in St. Augustine for 3 days. And so I was dropping him off this morning and checking your location. I saw that you were getting back home, and it looked like you were in your garage. And so I just assumed that you were going full IGI Tim, and that you were doing
normally I would be
and one-armed push-ups in the garage this morning. So I thought you were running in slow motion shirtless on a treadmill, but that wasn't the case. You were back
today
in bed.
Was a pull-up day. I just haven't done it yet, so I'll have to do my workout after our podcast. Stephanie says, "Good morning, boys." Well, good morning to you. Andrew, our wives will soon be home a little bit more because summer's almost here.
Yeah, summer is upon us. My public school kids have the rest of this week and then 2 days next week. My wife will be doing a third day next week because she doesn't have to, but she has 2 full-time aides in her classroom. And
she doesn't have to. She gets to.
She gets to.
Wow.
No, this is a solidarity moment. She's got 2 full-time aides that are in her classroom that are supposed to be there on Thursday. So she's going in on Thursday to help break down her classroom with the 2 aides that work with her so that they don't feel like she's taking the easy way out. And I'm doing a funeral on Thursday morning. And then I think we are going to dip over to Disney as a fam, because one of our boys is leaving the second full week of June to get a head start on the grandparent time in Arkansas. My in-laws have been taking the boys up one at a time for a few extra weeks over the summer. So it's his summer to go up early. So we've got to get the family Disney summer kickoff trip in while we have all 4 boys home with us.
How long will he be in Arkansas by himself?
He will be there 2 weeks ahead of us.
Wow.
And then with us for about 2.5 weeks. So he'll be,
That's like a whole month.
Yeah, so he'll do about half of his summer in Arkansas. He is the one of the four that enjoys the horseback riding. Like it's just kind of a neat thing how you never get to choose which family members gel, and some do, some don't, but everybody in our family gels just fine. But for whatever reason, he and my mother-in-law are like lost souls that have found each other, which is really, really cool because it's a blended family.
That's funny.
And my mother-in-law might be his favorite person on the planet. And so she's got all these plans for the two of them to go and do stuff together. So I'm kind of jealous. He's going to get to do all the awesome stuff. So we got to get our Disney trip in a little bit early.
I love that so much. Andrew, are you kicking off a summer series soon? Are you already in the middle of your summer series?
We kicked off a summer series yesterday. Okay. So, and it's not going to be a full summer series. It's going to be most of the rest of May and most of June. So we're in James. It's True Religion from, James 1:27. And so we started that yesterday, and I think we're going 3 weeks, taking a break because our conference superintendent is here for a Sunday preaching.
That's cool.
And then 2 weeks, and then the Larson family heads to Arkansas. So 1 week for each of the 5 chapters of James. So we're going kind of verse by verse, but we're picking kind of like the main theme of each chapter instead of
we did James. I'll send you my stuff. We did James a few years ago, but I was not the lead pastor, but I think I did 3 of those sermons. So that could be some helpful tips for you since we're entering into the summer months and sometimes sermon prep can be tricky.
We are very, very busy. Tim, you were saying all the ministry stuff you had to do. This was just a busy school week for us this past week. We had a sports banquet Tuesday night, which I know you guys just had a sports banquet as well. But I was coaching at the school, and so I get there, and the athletic director, who is awesome, says, "Hey, so you're in charge of praying and all of that kind of stuff because I'm the pastor coach, and so you kind of get into all of that. So I got to honor my team, the captain of the soccer team, who we believe set a scoring record this season for the boys soccer team at First Lutheran.
Exciting. That is
so
exciting.
We got to honor him. He was the sportsman of the year at the school, which granted there are 3 8th grade boys in the school. So there wasn't a ton of competition, but that was exciting.
It's still a prestigious award.
It's a very it's engraved on a plaque. It's not a certificate that you can just print out. You have to order it from a plaque store.
Wow.
And then Wednesday we had some medical procedures in the family that kind of put everything on a bit of hold. And then Thursday we had the school program night. So we've just been doing all the different things. It's crazy having kids at 3 different schools simultaneously. There's a lot of places you're expected to be.
Yeah, I did call you on Wednesday because I thought you might be prepping for youth group, but you had family stuff going on, and sometimes that happens. It
worked out well. It all worked out well, but it's been one of those whirlwind couple of weeks, and then it's like, okay, well, do we have any normal weeks really between now and September? Because this week and next week are the school wrap up weeks, and then we're in summer, and then we summer, no 2 weeks are the same. So we're kind of in that season of everything's kind of chaotic until you get back into school, but that's fine. I like it.
We attempted to tackle an entire chapter yesterday. I think you said you're kind of doing this with James this summer. We attempted Ecclesiastes chapter 8. It just felt it was 17 verses, not like unbelievably long, but I still had the sermon word count right where we would want it, in between, right around 3,000 words. We also did deacon installation. I don't know. It's harder when you're not just like with James, you could probably do just the big theme of each chapter. But with Ecclesiastes, things kind of shift, and it's almost like one pastor I read, whose commentary I'm using a lot of, he talks about it like talking to your grandpa who bounces from subject to subject, and Solomon kind of does that from verse to verse sometimes. Then he'll go back to something he was talking about 4 verses ago. So tackling a lengthy passage in Ecclesiastes has its own unique set of challenges, because then at the end, when you get to the application point, it's like, all right, remember all of the 37 things that Solomon told us today. And it's, just one of those things. But I think, a lot of great feedback from yesterday's message in particular. But I think people are seeing the end of Ecclesiastes near, and they're sort of reminiscing. So I got several like reminiscing texts of like, hey, we've so enjoyed spending the last 5 months in Ecclesiastes. And I've heard from several
5 months.
Isn't that crazy?
Have you been in Ecclesiastes for 5 months?
We're getting there.
That's wild. That's a long time.
And we still have chapters 9, 10, 11, and 12 to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're only 2/3 of the way through.
So we could do a chapter a week from here on out. I just don't know if it'll lend itself well to do that. I think chapter 12 will be just fine, but I don't know about 9, 10, and 11.
11 won't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So we going from the huge sections of text in the Patriarch series that we just wrapped up to now going to James. So I think we were 19 through 27 yesterday. So, 8-9 verses, but as far as word count got, and I had updated my computer last week, and my Pages doesn't automatically have the word count on. So I had finished the sermon and did not have the word count turned on the bottom of the screen.
Oh,
and
no.
so then Saturday night, I was
1,300
like, hey,
words.
No, it wasn't 1,300, but it was like 2,200. I was like, oh no, I'm 800 words shorter than I typically am.
Here's another illustration right here that would fit just perfectly.
It worked out well because, Tim, you and I worked on a resource for Download Youth Ministry that was called I Woke Up Like This, that was based on
It's right.
James 1,
I've used that particular resource several times at my kids' chapel. I've used it at Lakeview Land.
Yeah,
yep.
it is one of my go-to for one-offs, but there's a story in there about why you should look in the mirror before you leave the house that I had not. My camera just decided it was going to quit doing the center stage mode, I guess. Oh, iPhones. That was fun. It's like a Hitchcockian episode of the Morning After Ministry show. So I hadn't included that story in because, I try to include personal stories as the opening illustration, not always in the middle of a sermon. And so I kind of made a pivot there, and it turned out to go really, really well so I think I looked this morning and I was at like 29 minutes and 40 seconds. I was like, okay, I'm good.
That's good. That's fine.
That's great. But I did not realize until Saturday night that I was about 800 words shorter than I typically am.
Which is why I have the word count on the entire time.
This is the question, because I updated my computer and I didn't turn that back on.
Ross has for us, what's the strategy for going by words, then by pages? Do you fully manuscript? The answer is yes. So Andrew and I have been fully manuscripting since we were writing together for quite a few years.
2013-ish, we started manuscripting. I have no idea what's going on with my camera.
It just can't seem to locate your face. So, Ross,
every time I sip my coffee.
To answer your question, Ross, depending on the setting that we're speaking in, so if my kids' school chapel, I'm not going over 1,500 words. I know I'm going to probably play a funny, game in there somewhere, so 20 minutes-ish is more than enough for my kids' chapel. But if I'm preaching the main service at Lakeview, it's going to hover right around 3,000 words. That'll typically go anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes, depending on how fast I talk, how many cups of iced coffee I had this morning, depending on the text. We had a special iced coffee Sunday last week on Mother's Day, so people were just handing me iced coffee after iced coffee. So I probably got through the sermon a bit faster than I normally would, just because of the amount of caffeine was pumping through my veins last Sunday. Andrew, what's going on with your camera?
I have no idea. I'm trying to fix it, but it's smarter than I am. I don't know.
So Jerry says he goes by pages, not word count, and I get that.
See, the blinder I am, the bigger the font I need to use.
Yeah.
So 2013 Andrew was preaching out of a size 13 or 14 font. 2024 Andrew is typically preaching out of size 18 font, so pages wouldn't do me
Jerry,
a whole lot of good.
that's not a hot take. That's a cold take. He doesn't like iced coffee. Steph says it was a great Mother's Day sermon. I approved of your message. I tried. We tried to scare a few people away. We gave a Mother's Day sex talk. It didn't work, and about the same amount of people showed up yesterday. So we're just gonna have to try harder. We don't have a lot of room, Andrew.
I just need to talk about the coffee for a second, Jerry. Somebody, I don't know who it was, they brought in like a pump thing of like the fancy vanilla
So much
syrup.
for being a doctor. That's right, Adam.
They brought in the fancy vanilla syrup to go on the coffee bar in the back of the worship center. And I apologize if I'm making you seasick, because I've got two different screens here and I am getting nauseous, trying not to look at myself. That's a normal thing that I get in the mirror most days. But Tim, I'm usually a black coffee guy, especially in the morning. But now I have vanilla syrup that I can just pump into my coffee whenever. And I'm not doing syrup and no cream. And so I feel like my coffee caloric intake has gone up substantially in the past few weeks, and it's delicious, and I love it.
I do straight black coffee for my Bible reading every morning. That's kind of my routine. Now, if I have another cup after that, I might add creamer, might be a little vanilla in there, but for the most part. Yes, Adam, I agree. Andrew needs a better tech guy. Adam, are you available? Can we pay you by the hour to come take care of Andrew's tech problems?
I blame Tim Cook, and I thought I'd be clever and set up a tripod instead of having the little thing on the back of my computer screen with my phone on it, but it's the center stage.
Yes, Stephanie, Andrew is in that red carpet zoom camera mode.
It's got the glam cam. I'm going to go in slow motion so you can see all of the intricacies of my outfit. It's going to be great.
Yeah, Ross, that's right. He's a doctor now. He has a cameraman who's moving angles so he can get the best shots. Jerry agreed. We need Dylan back. Dylan, it's almost summertime. Could you make a return and help us out here?
I'm just trying to show you wherever there's the most exposed forehead is what I'm going for. I'm just going to try to move in different ways to see how to trick the center stage mode on the camera.
I just don't understand what else it sees in the room that it thinks it needs to.
I have no idea.
Earlier, it tried to focus in on Puppet Jesus.
Let's see. Hang on. I'm going to see if
it might do that again. Let's see who it finds. Nope, it's not.
It's finding my coffee cup.
Huh. I wonder if that's what's happening here. Wait for it. And there he is. I love that the iPhone center stage automatically looks to put Jesus at the center of its shot. I think that's appropriate.
And I'm back.
That is just the computer deciding what it wants to do. Focus
I'm not in
on
charge.
Jesus, says Jerry. That'll preach.
There you go.
The iPhone center stage mode.
We are going to rip this. It'll be a clip out there so you can use it for your sermon illustrations next week. Focus on Jesus, not on Andrew. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Andrew, I have a confession to make before you jump into the next topic. As you know, if you follow me on the socials, Lakeview started a men's softball team. We had our inaugural practice.
I follow you on the socials, and I had no idea until you told me in the car this morning. Have I been missing posts?
I posted about it last night.
Is there like a friends list that I'm not on?
I don't know if you know this, but when I was playing t-ball as a child, I moved up to pitching machine with all of my friends because that's what you did after t-ball. And all of my friends then moved up to kid pitch, and my dad sat me down and said, "Tim, why don't you stay back one more year at the pitching machine level?" And I was so angry, I told my dad, if I can't move up, I'm not playing. So I walked off the baseball field for the last time in my life, and I stepped back on it for the first time last night.
Tim,
it was not good.
It's a heartbreaking story, and that's about the time that your buddy got hit by the car too.
It is.
I'm just assuming because that's about second, third grade that you moved from kid pitch to, from pitching machine to kid pitch. Tim, you had a traumatic 9th birthday. I'm so sorry, buddy.
Look, I watch a lot of Rays games, so I just thought if I just do what they do, It can't be
Yeah,
that
like I watch
hard.
baseball. It can't be.
Right. So as the
it's so
fly ball
hard.
was coming like at my face, 50 miles an hour or more, I don't know how fast the ball travels off the bat. I found myself closing my eyes like as the ball was inching near my glove. That's a bad idea. I caught one.
You needed
I was
Benny
proud
the
of
Jet
myself.
to just direct it directly into your glove, so that the other guys would stop making fun of you. Just hold your glove up, and he'd get the ball there.
And somebody invited my older brother out, so I had like the peanut gallery in my ear the entire practice. Every time I did something stupid, my older brother made sure the entire team knew how much of an idiot I was out there. So if you're looking for a good laugh, every Tuesday night, all summer long, come on out to Mitchell Fields. If I find myself on the field, you will find yourself laughing hysterically because it's just not pretty.
Tim, do you remember when I was forced to play center field in the Dominican Baseball League that we were in? And by that, I mean, we call it a league because we played 3 times at the same field, but it was on a mission trip. And a routine pop fly to center field, and how I tripped and fell and bloodied myself. I've never, that might be the most blood I've ever shed since, or, I don't know that I've shed that much blood at any point in my adult life as I did tripping and falling on a clay baseball field in La Lista, Dominican Republic.
A little bit of a boo-boo. Steph says, maybe if I come, you'll try harder to do better. I will definitely want to impress my wife. So Stephanie, if you show up, I will make at least one diving attempt at a fly ball. When we got to request positions yesterday, so it was list your top 3 positions. I just put outfield, outfield, outfield. Like I don't want to be anywhere near too much action because
in theory, you want to play right field because
right field is it.
I'm assuming the vast majority of the batters in this league are going to be right-handed. And it's slow pitch, I'm assuming?
It's slow pitch, which means you can have 10 guys on the field, so you can have 4 outfielders.
Okay. So you want to be far right field.
Far right up against the foul pole. I'm fine with that.
There you go. Tim, I love it. Listen, I have not participated in an organized sports league in decades. I cannot point or laugh, but I think it's great for you.
Andrew, we've got some advice coming in. Someone says maybe move Jesus. That might solve it. John says you've got the movement tracking function on. Well, yes, we do. It's the iPhone center stage, which tracks the subject.
The problem is that my phone is like 4 feet away from me. And so if I turn that off, then I am super zoomed out. It's not that bad.
It's not terrible, but that's just a better shot.
Not.
It's a better shot.
And we're all about getting the better shot, Tim. That's what we do. That's who we are.
Jerry says, observation, kids in organized sports teams are more likely to cheat at youth group games. That is accurate. Just ask my son. Steph says, John said you'd make a great catcher. Maybe I can do that. Do you think I could be behind the plate?
I don't know. I think your glutes would be screaming at you. You got to squat.
I do a lot of squats. Maybe I could pull it off.
But also, do you remember that episode of Seinfeld where George was sliding into home and he like knocked out Bette Midler or something who was playing catcher? I don't want you to get hurt when someone is trying to score. And then, our game's every Tuesday, so you'd be fine on it. If you get hurt on Tuesday, you could preach by Sunday.
Saying. And I hope you'll come hang out with us at least one of those Tuesdays, Andrew.
I would love to.
It will be magical.
I'll be there. Tim, with yesterday being a weird weather day for us in greater Tampa Bay, I don't know if you guys were going through this because we had there's a 90% chance of thunderstorms when I went to bed Saturday night. When I woke up Sunday morning, it was there's a 60% chance of thunderstorms. So I get to church, and we're like, hey, we're not going to set up the outside stuff. We usually have a dozen or so chairs outside with the TV and the service piped out there. We have people that have been attending our church for months and have never sat inside. And it was hey guys, this is an inside only kind of Sunday. And then of course, not a single drop of rain. I don't know what you guys had because you guys are about 12, 15 miles north of us.
Our forecast was the same. We actually didn't do our full welcome station. So we have a massive welcome tent. We have lots of umbrellas we put out. So I got the text from our lead deacon on Saturday night saying, hey, we're gonna move everything down indoors, out of the way. We were supposed to have a meet and greet set up. We decided that was going to be inside, but then the weather was good, so we tried to move it outside. let's just
But then
say
there were no
things.
umbrellas.
So
And
no one
it was
knew where to go.
all the humidity of thunderstorms without any thunderstorms. It was sweaty hot yesterday.
It ended up not going well at all. It's just one of those things where the weather did what it does here in Florida, and it tricked us again.
It lied to us.
So what are you
It
gonna
lied, and as I was moving the TV to like the tucked in cranny in the back of the worship center where people wouldn't be walking by me like, hey, why isn't this outside? I said to our praise team, I said, you know that by me moving this, it's going to be, there's not going to be any rain at all, right? They're like, yeah, we know. But if you put it outside, it would get struck by lightning. It was just one of those. It was one of those things. But so because of that, we had, like I said, we had people that I'm kind of joking that people have been attending for months and have never been inside, but people that have been outside 85, 90% of the time, that because they were inside, then they decided, hey, let's come over to the fellowship hall. We usually don't do that.
Yep.
And then they were like asking about membership class and stuff. So it was exciting. Every now and then we should just take options away from people and make them leave their comfort zone, and they'll enjoy the life of the church just a little bit more. But
that's kind of like on youth camp when you have everybody on the bus, but you make them sit by people they don't actually know all that well. Or you're setting the rooming list and you make them.
Then they end up dating the people that they were sitting by on the bus. And did you do this on purpose, Pastor Andrew? Did you make us? Did you know? How did you know? I just know.
Andrew routinely played matchmaker, apparently, as a youth pastor. I have no idea how he survived that long as a youth pastor.
Listen, I went and saw one of my former students who was there when I bloodied myself. Cole, you know him. Tim,
I do.
The next time you are down doing South County Coffee Run, I've got a new place to take you.
I'm interested.
The Grove Surf and Coffee Company that I love on St. Pete Beach has a new location on Indian Rocks Beach, which is way closer for you because St. Pete Beach is way out of the way for you.
Yeah.
But Cole is the new general manager of this place, and holy cow, it is super hoity-toity. And I do not get black coffee there. My drink there is an orange vanilla latte. It tastes like Florida.
I will try that. I will definitely try that.
Super excited to have a former student be at the helm of my new favorite coffee shop. So I'm very proud.
I'd be okay with hitting up the coffee shop on the way to a Rays game if that made sense for our schedules in the not too distant future.
It would have to be a day game because I think their hours are 8 till 3. But hey, I'm game. Let's find a Wednesday or Thursday getaway day, 1:10 first pitch, and make it happen.
Andrew, speaking of getaways, I've got some exciting news for you. My wife and I are celebrating our anniversary a couple of weeks late. We had our wedding anniversary on May 17th, a couple of days ago. So now that we've been married 16 years, we figured it's time that we should.
16 years.
16 years. We need to get away for a little bit.
Also, I want to wish a happy 17th birthday to Emily Miller coming up here. And
that's not that. Your math is wrong. Emily's turning 15. You can do the math. We got pregnant 3 months after we got married. We're going to sneak away to one of your favorite lands. We're going to sneak away to the land of Nashville for almost all of next week, Tuesday through Friday.
I love it. And who is the headliner that you're going to see?
How did you know? We're going to see Bleachers on Wednesday night. Bleachers will be headlining.
Where are they playing?
At the historic, is it Ryman Theater? Is that how you pronounce that? So the historic Ryman Theater, I believe that is where Johnny met June for the first time.
Wow. It is a beautiful theater. I am not a huge, I'm going to drop everything and, fly across the country to go see a live show, but I'm going to drop everything and go across the country to see a venue. And that is a venue worth seeing. It's awesome. Tim, with the craziness of yesterday and people coming inside that are usually outside and coming to the fellowship hall that usually sneak away. Also, when you have your dog, it's harder to, sit down and eat casserole. About Thursday, my mother realized that she had thought she had signed up to help do food in the fellowship hall on Thursday, but had actually signed up for the nursery, which is, another story for another day.
That's the same thing.
It's different. It's a different sign-up sheet on a different bulletin board sheet. But so my dad says, do you know what? The Rays are out of town. My dad his old man retirement job is at Tropicana Field
It's a very
doing
cool job.
auctions for the Rays games. And so when the Rays are gone during baseball season, he has nothing to do and he gets bored. My dad probably made about, I don't know, 8 dozen cookies, several pies, and several casseroles for the fellowship hall time yesterday. So it was really fun. It's, that's why I like to make food for fellowship hall stuff, because I grew up with a dad that was always the one doing stuff for the church potlucks. That's my Grams, his mother was a classically trained pastry chef who never actually got to be a pastry chef because the higher paying job was in the prison system. So she was one of the head chefs for the Minnesota State Penitentiary. But he likes to make food because that's what he did with his mom. And it was just really funny because everyone's like, who made this? And they're expecting it to be one of the little old ladies, or, a lady who's got this secret family recipe. And then my dad's the one coming out of the kitchen with the towel over his shoulder. It was awesome. I love that. Tim, you get this with your dad as well, but it's kind of cool to get to see your dad as the hero of the church for a day. And I love it. Sometimes your dad is the pinch hitter, not on the softball team, but on the preaching team. Mm-hmm. And my dad was the pinch hitter in the kitchen, and Andrew, it was delicious. It was very exciting.
Your dad could preach.
He could.
He spent so many years in the classroom. He could probably,
It's funny. I grew up my whole life with my dad as the adult Sunday school teacher of whatever church we were at, because that's what I thought. That's his thing. He is quite literally a master teacher. He's a PhD in education. Mm-hmm. And I grew up on Sunday morning coming down and seeing my dad go over his Sunday school lesson notes on the coffee table before our family left for church, which was very funny because now I'm like, were you just going over notes, or were you doing your lesson for the first time?
He's taking a peek for the very first time.
Whenever I touch the coffee cup, the camera moves. It's my fault. I think
it's finding Jesus back there.
I love finding Jesus. What if I move my face in the way of? I'm not that tall, but one of my proudest moments that, like, kind of in ministry, not on a stage or behind a pulpit moments. Tim, the first thing that you and I ever produced on DYM was a series called Resolution Runner.
I remember it
and there were a few years when my parents' church was without a pastor before they moved up to Georgia. And then when they moved home, they came to Safety Harbor Community Church. And while their church was looking for a pastor, different deacons were going through and taking several weeks at a time. And my father was the deacon assigned with the New Year's, with January of that month. And so my mom sent me a picture of my dad trying to figure out how to download Resolution Runner from Download Youth Ministry. I was very proud that my dad wasn't just preaching on a Sunday morning, but he was using text that we had written.
Adam says the camera is defaulting to the more important face in the room. I agree.
That must be what it is. That must be.
I absolutely agree. Andrew, I hear you. We routinely call my dad the mayor of Lakeview because he's the one who's out front. He's shaking hands. He's kissing babies.
I always laugh.
Everyone that I talk to is like,
pictures.
Yep.
It's in every Sunday morning photo dump. There's 7 pictures of your dad. He's in more pictures than you are.
Absolutely. He is really the face in a lot of ways, the first person that you'll probably see. He's definitely the first person you'll hear if you don't know my dad. He's got a bit of a booming voice. He spends a lot of time on the phone, so as a kid, I would routinely roll the windows down to let some of the sound escape as he was chatting at his full max volume on the phone while in the car. That is Steve Miller for you.
We've got good dads.
John says he is everywhere. Somehow he's found a way to be omnipresent. I thought only one could do that, but apparently more than one can.
There is something to be said about having a really good dad, and we both were very fortunate.
Agreed. Andrew, you've got a lot of work to get to. We've got another podcast to record shortly. Is there anything else that people need to know about before we sign off for a little bit of a mini summer break, a whole 2 weeks.
Tim, that's it, man. I love you. Can't wait to see you guys back here in a couple weeks, and maybe my camera won't wiggle as much. I don't know.
I'm fine with that if it does. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
Go get it done. We'll see you real soon.
See you next time.